You don't want to get out of bed, not because you're lazy, but because you feel like a ghost inside your own life. The heaviness isn't physical, it's existential. There's no drama, no meltdown, just a quiet sense that what lies ahead no longer fits who you are. The world demands performance, but your soul is asking for something else, something quieter, deeper, more true. We've been taught to equate effort with value, motion with purpose, and discipline with worthiness. From school systems that rewarded perfect attendance over joy, to workplaces that push productivity over people, the label lazy became a catch-all accusation for anyone who deviated from the expected grind. But that label is a lie. Laziness is often not the absence of ambition, but the exhaustion of meaning. When your actions are no longer aligned with your inner world, your body resists, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. You're not malfunctioning, you're awakening. Your nervous system knows when you're operating out of obligation rather than desire. Your body knows when it's not safe to continue in a life that no longer nourishes you. You've outgrown roles, relationships, and rhythms that once fit. What looks like resistance is actually realignment. The part of you that doesn't want to perform anymore is not sabotaging your success, it's saving your life. Performance culture thrives on appearance, on smiling when you're tired, pushing when you're depleted, and staying visible even when you feel invisible inside. You begin to perform success rather than live it. You keep showing up because that's what's expected. But over time, the cost becomes unbearable. You wake up one day and realize you've become a stranger to your own joy. The systems we live in reward us for output, for meeting expectations, even when they're killing us. We learn to prioritize image over essence, to look like we have it together, even when we're crumbling inside. This constant pressure to perform turns life into theatre. You play your part, but you forget your script. You forget what your own voice sounds like. You become hyper-efficient at being what others need, and less attuned to what you need. You become productive but disconnected, accomplished but empty, and eventually your inner world starts to protest. Fatigue, apathy, brain fog, disinterest. These aren't personal failures. They're signs that your soul can no longer thrive under the mask of performance. The burnout isn't just about too much work. It's about too much disconnection from who you are. It's about showing up for roles you never consciously chose. It's about being praised for doing things that quietly drain you. And when you finally begin to unravel that performance identity, you don't become less. You begin to return to yourself. There's a type of tired that goes beyond lack of rest. It's the exhaustion that comes from being out of alignment for too long. You might sleep 8 hours and still feel like you're dragging your body through your day. You're not tired because you're undisciplined. You're tired because your spirit is asking for change. This is where most people misunderstand themselves. They say, I should try harder, I should be more motivated, I should just push through. But your body is not a machine. It's an instrument of your truth. When your truth and your life diverge, you will feel the pain of that separation in your nervous system, your attention span, your emotions, even your digestion. Your entire being is wired for coherence. And when you're out of coherence, the fatigue is deafening. You don't need to try harder. You need to listen more deeply. What is the resistance trying to say? What dreams have gone silent inside of you? What truths have you buried beneath routine? The answer is not in doubling down. It's in softening, in allowing, in remembering that you are not here to impress the world. You are here to inhabit it. This is the sacred moment where something new begins. But it begins with permission. Permission to slow down. Permission to question the life you've been living. Permission to want something different. And most of all, permission to not know what comes next and still trust yourself anyway. So much of adulthood is lived under the weight of shoulds. You should keep the job. You should maintain the relationship. You should keep the schedule. But should is the language of suppression, not sovereignty. It keeps you trapped in maintenance mode, where your main goal is not to thrive, but to avoid collapse. Obligation is a heavy current. It drags you away from your own center. It convinces you that survival is the same thing as success. But there's another way of living, one rooted not in duty, but in devotion. Devotion to what makes you feel alive. Devotion to what feels like yours. Devotion to what holds your attention, not out of fear, but out of wonder. When you begin to make this shift, your life may look quieter on the outside. You may say no more often. You may stop explaining yourself. You may step out of roles that once gave you identity. But internally, something luminous begins to unfold. You begin to inhabit your life again, not as a series of obligations, but as a place of meaning. Authenticity doesn't mean comfort, it means clarity. And clarity isn't always convenient, but it's real. And real is where healing begins. When your choices are sourced from truth rather than pressure, your energy returns. Your joy returns, your vision returns, and life becomes less about proving and more about participating. There comes a point in every transformation where everything goes quiet. You've shed the old skin, but the new one hasn't formed. You're not who you were, but you're not yet sure who you're becoming. This is the sacred pause, the liminal space, the cocoon, and it can feel terrifying if you mistake stillness for stagnation. You might look around and see others moving forward, posting, producing, thriving. Meanwhile, you're floating in the fog of uncertainty. But just because your progress isn't visible doesn't mean it isn't real. Roots grow underground long before a sprout breaks the surface. Silence is not the absence of growth. It's the atmosphere it requires. This in-between space is not punishment. It's preparation. It's where integration happens, where the fragments of your past start to reorganize into something new. You don't need to rush this. You don't need to narrate it. You only need to be with it. Let the emptiness be holy. Let the not knowing be enough. This is where your next chapter is taking shape, not in hustle, but in stillness, not in striving, but in surrender. Trust this pause. Don't perform through it. Don't push past it. Let it hold you. Let it speak to you. And know this, you're not lost. You're just in between. And that's a sacred place to be. Rest is not what you do when you're done being useful. It's what you do because you are worthy, because your existence alone is enough to justify gentleness. But in a society addicted to productivity, rest is framed as failure. It's framed as weakness. It's framed as indulgence. And so we avoid it until our bodies force us to surrender. But what if rest is the revolution? What if stopping is where everything begins again? Rest is not absence, it's presence. It's the presence of care, of restoration, of listening. It's where you begin to hear your own voice again, beneath the noise of doing. And while you rest, a new definition of success can arise. Not one built on applause or income or visibility, but one built on alignment, intimacy, and peace. Maybe success is having the courage to stop living someone else's life. Maybe it's waking up without dread. Maybe it's being able to breathe deeply in your own skin. You don't have to prove anything anymore. Not to your family, not to your job, not even to your younger self who thought life would look different by now. You're not lazy. You're healing. You're evolving. You're moving from performance to presence. And in that presence, your inner fire is still there. Not a wildfire now, but a hearth. Steady, warm, waiting. Tend it. Trust it. Let it lead you, not back to who you were, but forward to who you truly are.